come on stage. That sound.
Orlando.
So, if they ready, that sound.
Orlando. You don't know, man? You don't know this is the sound of Orlando? Ain't nobody told you about that, man. This is the Sound of Orlando show with your boy Rome back in the house. Let's go on a Wednesday, and this is what we're doing tonight. We are talking about hip-hop culture as if you didn't know already. This is the place to talk about hip-hop culture. And, you know, shout out to everybody that helped the YouTube page launch. We're looking forward to beautiful things to come with this YouTube, man, and expanding our footprint, if you will, with this hip-hop culture. Very, very, very looking forward to it, you know, because this is the place in which we talk about hip-hop through the filter of Orlando, the Ozone, O-Town sound. You already know. Now, our special guest tonight represents Black excellence, you know, represents hip-hop culture to the fullest, represents the art, the skill, the amazing technique of DJing. These guests that I have on tonight have formed a Voltron, if you will. Skill and skill, you know, steel. And when it comes to this DJing stuff, man, I mean, I'm telling you, man, like I always love to have my DJs on because a lot of DJs don't get enough of the shine. They are the heart and soul of hip hop, man. They put things together and they blend it, and you hear all kinds of new frequencies, new sounds, and the culture expands, and DJs are the heart of that expansion. So shout out to all my DJs in Orlando on the check-in, tuning in right now, man, because this is a special treat if you're a DJ. Now, representing Queens, New York, representing England, the powerful power couple, the brand new fusion, I may introduce, if I will, white chocolate. That is Rob Swift and Dilly Rowe. Let's go.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, welcome to the show.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Oh, man, this is just like I said, I mean, you know, being in hip hop all my life, you know, DJing and you name it. I'm also a fan. So it's like, for me, it's like, you know, when I get these moments where we can kind of talk about, you know, the essence of DJing and what you guys are kind of doing by joining forces and bringing those skill sets together and teaching people. I mean, this is a great night for not only myself, but Orlando in general, man.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the show. Now, before we get into some of the present things that are going on right now with you guys, I want to take it back for a minute, and for all my listeners who are just tuning in, let's talk about the origins really quick. How'd you get started DJing, and where did you guys you know, decide this is what I want to do? And, you know, any one of you could take the first question.
You should take that one.
All right. So I started DJing when I was 12 years old. We're talking early 80s. My father was a DJ, and he played salsa music, merengue, cumbia. A lot of people watching this right now might assume I'm Afro-American. And obviously, yeah, I am Black, right? But
yes,
my parents were born in Colombia, South America. So my dad spun Latin music and migrated here to New York City in the late 60s and got himself equipment to DJ in order to make extra money. you know, my parents came here, man, dirt poor, working factories, and DJing was a means for my dad to make extra money. So he started DJing, and I also had an older brother that at the time was immersed into hip hop culture. Hip hop by 1978, 79 was just like the thing that was driving New York City culture, especially in the inner city. And my brother was a part of that movement of kids breakdancing and DJing and rhyming and doing graffiti and all that. So being that I had a father that had the equipment and a brother that was immersed into hip hop, it was just the perfect formula for me to be exposed to DJing, because obviously my dad DJ'd and he would take us to parties that he was hired to spin at and stuff. And then I had a brother that was into hip hop, and DJing and hip hop are synonymous, you know, like you wouldn't have hip hop without the DJ. So
talk about it, brother.
Yeah,
I can't hear that phrase enough, because
word.
you know, the DJ is the heart and soul, the beat of what this beautiful thing of ours that we call hip hop. If it wasn't for the DJ, the swag, the soundtrack would not be there, man. And so that's amazing, because like I said, I know a lot of people may have heard the story, but just like I said, just for my peoples in Orlando, very, very deep hip hop culture scene out here, and so I want them to hear all that. And Dilly, talk about your background and where you come and how you got introduced to this thing called hip hop.
Yeah, so obviously I'm from England. I'm from London, represent. And I fell in love with hip hop just through, you know, listening to the music. Female rappers really inspired me, their energy. Some of the music videos, like for me, like Missy Elliott and Hype Williams's collaborations really inspired me and opened up this whole world for me. I loved how a lot of females in hip hop were carrying more masculine energy, and I just thought that was so different to what I was, you know, surrounded by. I was either surrounded by, like, you know, a lot of grime, so my culture comes from more like the underground garage and grime and drum and bass from London. But then I moved to the US, and pretty quickly I bumped into Rob. I took a class and Rob was teaching it. And, you know, I have musical training just from my childhood. And so Rob kind of put a musicality onto just like the culture that I hadn't experienced before. So suddenly I went from like a passive recipient of hip hop culture, which to me, you know, I'm 20. So the OG hip hop culture kind of was a bit before my time. And so rather than being like a passive recipient, through Rob, I actually learned to DJ, to scratch, to express myself. And then through that, this whole world of like hip hop today opened up to me. And, you know, since then, well, you know, I've always loved funk, disco, and all of the music that sort of preceded hip hop as well. So it's like a holistic experience for me. And yeah, that's kind of what got me into this situation that you're seeing right now.
And that's completely dope, because Rob has, I mean, you know, he has had the excellence of DJing, being with the X-ECUTIONERS and you know, DMC and you name it. I mean, he's done it and been a part of some great things. What was that like? You seeing that plethora of like information and experience. What was that? Talk about real quick how did you feel being immersed in that?
Oh, it's incredible. Like, I love learning in general. I'm just a very curious person. And so, you know, but just as Rob and I had met, I Googled him because I just wanted to kind of, you know, feel him out, see who he was. And I just got lost in this YouTube vortex of like videos of him doing, you know, his the biz routine, this competition, X-ECUTIONERS sets. And a lot of that I didn't even know what I was really watching, but I was so amazed by it. The virtuosity, like the technique, the skills, but then the like raw energy that like him and his, colleagues, that's probably too formal of a word, but like his group members were bringing. And I'd never seen such musicality in a more like a traditional sense coming from DJing, because for me DJing, it's by the time I got to that age to go out to live events, it was already very digitized. So I'd never really seen beat juggling, for example, and that amazed me. So every day with Rob, it's like learning 100 new things, and on a spiritual level as well. Rob brings a lot because DJing, and it's almost like a martial art. You have to master yourself, and then you master your craft. And so it's more than just, yo, that was a sick pattern or whatever. It's like a whole immersive like philosophy experience. Yeah, it's sick. And obviously I love it because I'm still here, and I fell in love with this guy through it all. So
And you just spoke to every DJ on the planet. We get into those zones where it's kind of cosmic, and you forget about space and time, and you're just immersed in whatever you're doing. And it's that, like you said, it's almost kin to, meditation, and going into that zone place where you're at peace. And a lot of people don't realize the art of that in the aspect of DJing, because people walk up and be like, "Oh, you're just playing records." No, we're not.
yeah.
We're redefining those records. We're making our own records through these records.
Wow.
So that's amazing, man. Now, you guys have been very busy here lately. You've been. I want to talk about the National Hispanic Heritage Month and what you guys brought to that event and that timing and that moment of history. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so from September 15th to October 15th annually, Hispanics all over the world celebrate their heritage. And I have a dear friend named Mike, whose wife, Nora, does some work for the embassy here in America. And she connected me with the embassy to Bogota, which is in Colombia, and I'm Colombian. And they just decided to do this little interview with me and feature myself and Dilly, aka White Chocolate. And we did a really cool set together after the interview. And for me, that was just a dope experience because I'm a Colombian true. Like I'm, although an American born here in New York City, I bleed, Cali, Colombia. And
Yes.
the idea that, years later after my parents migrated here, that I would do something in connection with my motherland is just mind blowing, man. And it was dope because I did the entire interview in Spanish. It's up on my YouTube page for those that want to watch it. And I rarely honestly speak Spanish, although I'd say I'm like 90% fluent. I don't really speak it much. So it was interesting for me to connect with everyone over there in Colombia via my native language. Although I speak English is my first language, the language of my heritage is Spanish. So I don't really speak it much. When I'm with Dilly, I speak English. And when I talk with my parents, usually I just say the same old stuff. So being asked questions about DJing and the plight of Black folk here in New York City and having to respond in Spanish, that shit almost made my head explode, to be honest with you. But it was a dope experience, and it was cool to have my girlfriend involved as well, because obviously I want to try to, in this relationship, bring her into my world. A lot of times when you DJ, for example, I'm sure you could identify with this, and you have a mate, a partner, what tends to happen is you separate your music from the relationship. You do your DJing with your friends, and then you become, in my case, Rob around your girlfriend. And in this case, I'm both. You know, I'm Rob Swift with her now, and then after this interview's done, I'm back to being Rob, and I'm still interacting with her, and it's not like a separate thing between my music and my relationship. It's more of a union. So that was an amazing experience, and you know, I feel in the grander scheme of things, the idea that I have my mate involved with me in these cool situations, man, like here with you interviewing, it's just really fun for me. So
You hear that, Orlando? You hear what he's saying? You hear what's coming out of his mouth? He just dropped like some megaton bombs on everybody, yo, because one, like I said, I always love having my Latinos aquí, brother, porque esto, this thing we call hip hop, bro, is everything. And then on top of that, you don't hear DJs talking about that side or that perspective of what it is, because you just spoke some proper truth to what a relationship is when someone is married to a DJ. It is, or somebody is with a DJ. You know, it is a very tough thing when one person is doing one thing and one person can't understand or partake or enjoy that aspect of their lives, what brings them joy, and they cannot understand that. To have that said in public on the show tonight, I think you made the whole night by saying that, because it really puts things into perspective of how you could come together, not only physically, not only mentally, but you could come together musically and create a bond in which, I mean, it's unrivaled, man. Big up to that, man. Amen to that, brother. Now, you got these workshops going on. Talk about the white chocolate workshops that you got going on.
So we were really blessed with some cool opportunities in the last year since we started running as White Chocolate. And we did some work in North Carolina. We did a couple of the embassy workshops for Tajikistan and for Colombia, and we sort of just represented how two different people from many different walks of life can connect through hip hop and just share the culture, some DJing techniques, and then some of our creativity with people. So we have been doing some workshops over the year together, but we also just launched a platform called the Brolic Army DJ School, because you know your boy Brolic Army over here.
Bro, let's go.
Oi, oi. And so obviously Rob's been teaching for quite some time now, has perfected his pedagogy. And so we thought, you know what, COVID is happening. Rob only has so many hours in the day and he's always swamped with people trying to train with him. So I said, let's put together this platform where people can access your videos. So you've got it up on the screen there. We run different courses. We literally launched on Friday, so we'll be adding more and we'll be building more. And, you know, it's our early days, but we've had such a great response so far. It just shows it was definitely the right thing for us to do. And yeah, we've got a shop, we've got our courses, we've got basic scratching, Rob's signature 10 root moves of beat juggling, if you want to get busy on the beat juggling, some training, like scratch training, if you already know the fundamental scratches. And yeah, we just uploaded a new course called Workshop Archives, which will be documenting some of the in-person events that we do that are in collaboration with non-profits. You know, the one we just posted was actually in collaboration with a non-profit called Backspins that works with disadvantaged youth, minority youth in North Carolina and Charlotte, bringing creativity to kids and empowering them through, you know, DJing. So that's something that obviously is personal to both of us, to try and outreach and get as many people, you know, as they can to use DJing as a creative outlet and create the next generation of DJs. So that's some, you know, there's a lot going on and we're really proud of this platform. So if you want to go and check it out, it's brolicarmydjschool.com. We're running actually a welcome deal at the moment. I might as well mention that. And if you go to checkout and press thank you, you get like a discount in the, you know, discount code is thank you. Because we appreciate everyone who's shown love and we're really excited for this journey.
That is simply amazing. You know, DJing can sometimes be, you know, kind of a solo trick, if you will. Because I know growing up, when we came up, a lot of people didn't realize, you know, we didn't have the YouTubes, we didn't have those kind of instructions. We had to watch, you know, everything unfold with our own eyes. I mean, there was kind of, you know, very little precedent for things sometimes. We heard scratches, but scratches were still being evolved. So it was difficult to kind of, you know, learn on your own. And so now, you know, being able to have those kind of classes and learn things from the real, you know, the real experience, the real dope shit. How do you feel about that, my man? How does that make you feel, being on the other side of the art now?
It's incredible, man, because I'm giving back, and this art form has done so much for me with regards to my self-confidence, my creativity, my personality, my sense of just achievement and setting goals for myself. Like, DJ art, you would think on the surface is just about playing music for people at a party, but the depth to which you could experience yourself as a DJ is infinite. And even now, like, I've been involved in DJing the majority of my life, and through this school, I'm experiencing myself in a completely different way as a mentor to people that don't have someone in their, you know, local area to train with and be inspired by, you know. And some people I never even meet in person, but I interact with them on social media, and I become almost like a big brother to a lot of folk. And that's just, for me, awesome, man, because I'm experiencing myself in a way that a regular 9 to 5 probably couldn't facilitate. So it's great, man. And I'm really appreciative of Dilly, because she's been working super hard and helping me build this platform and helping me reach more people. And for that, like, I'm really appreciative of you, babe. Like, you've done a lot of work, and people need to know that, like, I wouldn't be here talking about this school, and you wouldn't be scrolling up this website if it wasn't for her and the effort and energy that she's put into the website. So I'm super excited, and this is just a dope platform for people to learn, not just about DJing too, like the technicality, but also the history involved in this art form, because the things that people learn came from somewhere. It specifically young Black teens in the Bronx, New York City. I'm talking about Grandmaster Flash and Grand Wizard Theodore, Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, Grand Mixer DST, Charlie Chase, Tony Tone, Jazzy J, AJ Scratch. The list goes on of young Black teens that were creating this amazing art without anyone leading them or without a blueprint, just doing it off instinct. And now it became this thing that you could teach at a university or online. And there are a lot of people that teach DJ art but focus on the technique. But I pride myself in also giving people historical context on what the techniques are, where they came from. And I think that's one of the main things that separates our DJ school from the rest that are out there.
Well, I mean, what do you say about that? You know, because we live in a world in which a lot of times you hear, you know, why are these DJs hating on me? Or, you know, these guys are from this, you know, decade, and they have no clue what we're doing. And it's controller versus analog. It's turntables versus this. You know, you hear it all the time. And what you're talking about is actually some real live shit, which is you know, I could be that person that's saying, I want no part of this generation. And you chose to say, you know what? This is ridiculous. To what does it profit me to retain all of this information only to die with it and not allow people to learn not only from a technical standpoint, which, you know, mind you, shout out to Orlando. Nobody had YouTube. You had to figure all this stuff out on your own, you know. And we live in an age where there's actually people like yourself who are saying, you know what? Nah, man, we're going to go against the grain on this one because it should be shared. It should be given to people who not only want to be a DJ, but to experience the definition of what it should be to be a DJ. We are the bartenders of records. We serve up cocktails to the people then. You know, we're making drinks. People come, they might have a bad day, they might be going through something, and what that record, that cut, that pause tape, even whatever technique we're using gives them a sense for that one moment that things can be okay. We inspire people. We're the professors when it comes to the beat. And to your point, like you said, it's more than technical. It's way more than hip hop is not, you know, rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live. And that DJing is one of those things. And salute, homie, to that and what you're doing, bro. I think that is completely, utterly amazing. You felt compelled to
no doubt, because the thing about it is, it was passed on to me by my brother and my dad. So my thing is to pay it forward and now pass it on to other people. And you touched on something yourself with regards to when we were coming up. It was passed on to us, yes, but we had to do a lot of the heavy lifting as well. Like we had to, you know, our mentors would tell us just enough to get started, to inspire us, and then we had to go out there and search out
because
the rest of that information. Right, because exactly. Right,
it was
exactly.
New. There was no.
But I feel like now the odd thing about this information world that we live in is the information is there, an abundance of information is there, but it seems to me like this new generation of DJ doesn't really know to go search it out. They just kind of, and I'm not necessarily speaking about everyone, but in my interactions with a lot of younger DJs, they want to know how to do it, but forget that why and where is also important. Where did this technique that they want to do evolve from? Why did it get to the point that it is now? These are important questions. And in my teachings and in my philosophy with regards to this art form, the history goes hand in hand with the technique. So if you go to the website and look at the tutorials, I always take out 10 to 15 minutes to explain the history of what they're going to learn before I even put my hand on the turntable, because it's that important. And it's out of respect to the pioneers that gave us the techniques that teachers like myself are passing on to these young DJs.
Well, yeah, like you're like you're carrying the narrative forwards for the next generation. Because like I know when I was going out and coming up on DJ, like I didn't know that DJing had the history that it does. Like that's not in the everyday narrative, like for people of my generation. And so it's so important, like what you're doing is like documenting in like a really systematic way what's happened and giving credit to the people who deserve it. Because so many of these people have created techniques that have gone on to give birth to like a multi-billion-dollar industry and have barely even had their names mentioned. And so rather than just like eradicating the pioneers and capitalize, like, you know, just general people capitalizing things, whitewashing things, like it's what Rob's doing is like cementing these people in history so that you know, whatever, like they do get the credit for what they did, and then the people who are learning become participants of the culture and not just vultures of the culture.
Right, right. And I love what you just said. The idea of vulture. And why vulture? Right? Why do people use the word vulture? Well, in my idea of what vulturing is combing the dead. And technique without character, without soul, is dead. Like there's, you know, you could teach a robot how to do tricks, and maybe the robot will speak, but the robot is dead. It's not alive. And what you're talking about, the history, is the life. It's the actual idea that, you know what? Yeah, you can scratch, but that don't make you a DJ. Yeah, you can mix, but that don't make you a DJ. And I always love the fact that a lot of DJs out there, you know, shout out to the premieres, you know, or shout out, you know, to the scratches, or, you know, whoever. There's been DJs out here that have never been really worrying about what the other DJ was doing. They were, to your point, historic in their own sense, that they wanted to just be them. That was their expression. So they weren't necessarily worrying about having to do everything the other DJ did. They found a lane within themselves, and they were able to do that. And that comes from the respect of the history, like you were talking about, like respecting. When you respect your history, you respect yourself even more. So that is amazing what you're talking about right there. Amazing, amazing stuff. Now, to keep things moving, you know, I have to ask you, and shout out to you, Rob, because I know you kind of put the idea in, but I was going to ask you that anyway. What is it like living in a house or home where you're both DJs? Talk about that and all the ups and downs of that, of what it is to be a couple. I mean, there's couples that they're partners, they do everything together, and there's people that do separate things and find ways. Talk about how you guys are finding ways to reinvent love without even, you know, worrying about it, if you will.
Overall, man, it's dope. It's a great experience because take the lockdown that all of us have been under for the last, 11 months. Might as well, just say a year. If I was single by myself here, I think I would have gone crazy, because you could DJ and play music and be creative, but there's nothing like being able to share that with someone else. And with regards to DJing, that is the whole point. It always weirded me out or confused me when I hear people say, I DJ for myself. I do this for myself. I don't know. Like, I get that you do it to be happy, to experience yourself being creative, but DJing is a communal way of being creative. Like, you're playing music for people, not just yourself in your bedroom.
Yeah, you're helping other people like create an energy that people
right.
share.
Exactly.
And then you vibe.
Exactly.
You set a vibe.
You're creating an energy amongst a group of people, be it 5 people in a room or 200 people. And so having Dilly with me here at the apartment to be creative with. So, for example, if I want to practice, I could call her up to the studio and turn her station on, and we don't even need to have a conversation verbally to communicate with each other. We could just be creative. That's just an amazing experience, man. And I wish that more DJs who are in relationships could experience what I do with Dilly, because it's amazing. And then there are times where we break off into our own little worlds and we do our own little projects, but then we get to talk to each other about those projects and inspire each other. So it's just overall a great experience.
Well, I gotta ask you, man. When y'all get mad, do y'all battle it out? Like, man, I gotta ask that.
Yeah, I mean,
you ain't nice, man. I'll take you out.
Something that I always tell Dilly and remind her about, not that she needs reminding, but I guess in a way I'm kind of reminding myself as well when I say this, is we're never in competition with each other. So when we're practicing or performing, it's not about me being more experienced and my scratches sound better or any of that. It's about us just what is it that we're doing together? What kind of creativity are we putting out together, regardless of the skill level? So I mean, I know you're just being funny. But my thing is to like be creative, man, and she helps me grow as a DJ, and I want to help her grow as a DJ, and then as a result, we end up growing together as people, and that's basically what happens.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mama. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, Rob's like the ultimate team player. Like, he knows how to work in groups and how to create a cool environment. So I've never felt. Well, first of all, there's no competition anyway. So like, yes. Like, come on now, like, when I met Rob, I literally never touched the turntable. So I'm living in reality here. But what's cool is we feed each other in different ways, and we're very different, but we're also very similar, and all the right things kind of overlap. I mean, sometimes things don't overlap, as with every friend or couple or whatever. But in general, like, the ability to be able to bounce ideas off each other, and he's got skills that I haven't got, and I've got skills he hasn't got, and it just being able to work on such a team level is amazing with your partner, and he's definitely taught me that. I mean, you're more experienced in life, relationships, and DJing. So of course, he's taught me. Of course, he's taught me a lot of things, but the way that we've managed to do that together, because ultimately it does take two to tango, like, it's a learning curve, and we're always still learning about each other and how to grow, and as we grow into different people. But yeah, it's definitely a team effort, and there's never competition.
Well, I kid y'all. I mean, I'm joking. I've been married for 23 years, and so I get the ups and downs and the difficulties of sometimes sharing spaces. As an artist, as a musician, which DJs are, they're musicians, they're artists, and artists can be complicated. And I still think it would be dope as hell. I mean, I would love to hear I would love to hear arguments in scratching. Like, you can eliminate the words, and you can cuss me out and scratch. I'll take that any day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But man, you guys are so freaking amazing. And like I said, part of what you're bringing to the table, which is synonymous with this show is trying to bring to the table, is to view each other as human beings and to humanize some of our heroes instead of objectifying them and making them feel like it's a dog and pony show. We're all humans, and to your point, COVID has really impacted a lot of people and made them kind of look inside themselves and see how their time is being spent and what they could do to do things that maybe will be more fulfilling. Talk about how COVID has impacted you both.
Well, obviously COVID has changed a lot of things. A year ago we were gigging out and we were going to events, we were traveling for events, and then COVID hit, and since then, we've traveled a tiny bit because I have to go back to England here and there and all of that, but in general it made us really use our studio a lot more and turn inwards, and it kind of happened really organically that we just started practicing together because lockdown, it was the first lockdown, everyone was trying to pick up new hobbies and all of that, and we were just playing around, creating some social media content together. And then just one video after the next, we kind of pushed ourselves more and more and more. And then I would have an idea, and then we'd do it, and I'd have to learn how to do it. And same with Rob. And so it snowballed into what we now are as White Chocolate. And then we got gigs as White Chocolate. We got events. We got workshops. And COVID's been such a tricky thing because it's been so terrible for so many people. So many people have died. So many people have experienced job loss, financial insecurity. But for us, as just in terms of our relationship and our creativity, it's actually been like overall a big blessing. Like I cannot say I would want this year to have gone any different. You know, not 100%, because obviously I'd love to be traveling the world and doing things, but what we have achieved is more than we could have asked for, you know, all things considered. So we upgraded our studio like one piece at a time, and our videos got better, and my skills got better, and Rob started diversifying his skills more, and it made us reconsider like what it means to be a DJ. Like, what is a DJ without a residency? What is a DJ without gigging out every weekend? What can DJing be in its kind of quite an unnatural new environment that it's in? And I personally think we've done really interesting things with it, and we're still in love with it. We're still having a lot of fun. And you know, to tie it back just to our platform, like it just shows that you need to, as a DJ, diversify your income. You know, that's a huge lesson, I think, is like, don't put all your eggs in the basket of the residency, because as important as that is, hip hop is an entire culture. It's not just going to one gig, you know? So dip your toes into whatever drives your passion whatever drives your passion. And we've done that this year, and we've created stuff that we could have never imagined creating a year ago. So COVID, blessing and a curse, you know, I think forced us to change, forced us to adapt. You know, people around us have gotten sick, all of that. But overall, him and I have been safe. You know, we've been inside. We've tried to be sensible and just, you know, figure our shit out and not wait for the winds to change, but to move with the winds.
What say you, Rob?
I say everything Dilly just said. I mean, you know, this year has been very interesting because on the one hand, COVID put a stop to something I was really enjoying doing with Dilly, which was playing out live.
Yeah. We
had residencies, we DJ together. And when you're, you know, you talk about being indoors with your mate, being creative, but being out in the world, being creative in front of people, that's a whole other level of just amazing, fucking incredible feelings, man. Like, it's hard to describe for me what it feels like to see Dilly in front of an audience of 300 people getting busy or nailing a routine that I know she's been practicing for weeks. So not being able to experience that has sucked. But then on the flip side, like Dilly said, you adapt, man, and you figure out a way to continue moving forward, and you don't just stay stagnant. And I feel super proud of us in this relationship because we've adapted so well throughout the year to the situation that we're in as creatives, as DJs. I mean, I can't think of an industry hit harder by COVID than DJing. Like, we can't be around groups of people. We can't do what DJs do, which is play music, you know, in large crowds. Like, we can't do that stuff anymore, or at least temporarily until things start to calm down. And as a result, it's pushed us to be creative about doing other things that feed our need to be creative, you know? So whether it was building the DJ school, whether it was growing White Chocolate, we didn't let COVID stop us. So like Dilly said, in other ways, it was a blessing because sometimes you get content, you know, you got the residency, you're making money, you know that in 2 weeks you're gonna have this gig and you're gonna DJ, and then 2 weeks after that you'll be back at that same spot, and that could kind of make you complacent. And I feel like COVID just was one big reminder that things could be taken away from you in a split second. So you, as Dilly said, you got to diversify and figure out a variety of ways of being creative and reaching people. And that's what we did throughout the year.
And I love what you guys said, especially from the angle of being a DJ and what that all entails. You know, we're there at the beginning, we're there at the end of the night. We're breaking down. People come up to us. You know, they're drunk sometimes. You know, you mix COVID in with that. You know, so even the DJs that are gigging, they got a lot on the line more than equipment. Equipment you can always replace, but you can't replace you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to hear that aspect or that angle, yeah, it's truth to power, man. Because for a lot of us, you know, myself included, it has been the worst and best time all wrapped in one. You know, we've lost a lot of people, but there were a lot of babies born, and we got to find that balance and that will to understand that, yeah, if you can't, money ain't gonna do a damn thing at the end of the day. What are you doing to make a difference, not only in your life but in the lives of others? Are you living your purpose? You know, DJs, we talk with our hands, you know, and, you know, I love what you guys are saying to all the other DJs that are listening right now, because we tend to kind of a lot of times be off on our own thing. You know, we'll do gigs or then it's back to the morning grind, and, you know, and we might have a small circle of people, but as a community, these are things that we should be talking about to kind of keep everyone's spirits up in a way. And like I said, the truth is the truth, and that's the truth. You know what I mean? Like what you guys said, I think everybody needed to hear that aspect of the love for the culture. And so kudos to you. I do want to leave, you know, because I know I don't want to hold you too much longer, but I do want to get a sense or give the audience a sense of what were some of your inspirations, and what, if you could kind of maybe say what inspired you and what's inspiring you now. What is kind of making you feel like, you know, proverbial, there's hope, if you will. What inspired you before, and what's kind of making you feel like a kid again in music in general, things outside of you guys right now? What are you guys listening to?
That's a great question. Like, I'm super inspired by like my community of DJs, or like the DJs we surround ourselves with or that are in our network, because seeing what other people do inspires you to find something within yourself. Sometimes you see someone do something and you're like, oh shit, that was wicked. Like, oh, I think, how about if you do this version of what they did, and then you come up with something. So I draw a lot of inspiration from just like the world around me and what's going on, and I pick and choose little pieces that inspire me. So I'm a really curious person, so it's hard to nail down like one thing. But yeah, I'm just so curious that whatever comes through my world or my view, just I get super inspired by. I don't necessarily have role models. I try and be my own and try and choose the things that I would find inspiring in somebody hypothetically and try to achieve those things. There's lots of people who, you know, I see a few elements of, whether they have done amazing things with their lives, are incredibly creative, you know, are very spiritually evolved, very educated, have made wide decisions with their lives. And I try and just surround myself with as much information as I possibly can, because I'm still at that time in my life where I'm absorbing loads. So I'm just absorbing everything that I possibly can, and that cannot harm me in any way, you know.
Dope.
I've been running a podcast actually called Breaking It Down with Dilly, where I've been interviewing female DJs that inspire me, because, you know, when I was trying to get inspired or whatnot, I, you know, would go on YouTube and type in this person interview, or this person, I want to know more about their personality and who they are and their history and their culture. But not all female DJs, or DJs who are women, however you want to put it, are given that kind of platform to speak their truth on. So you know, I've only done 3 episodes, but I'm enjoying it and I'm learning so much from it. So doing that kind of thing really inspires me. I had DJ Killer Jewel, a friend of mine called DJ Shilpa, also known as DJ Scarlet, and a really dope DJ called DJ T Jr. And I'm just trying to learn more from women, because there's so many inspiring guys who have such big platforms and they're so commonly known, but then there'll be women, and for me as a woman, trying to dig deeper and find 6 females who maybe aren't given that voice, that's been really important for me this last year. I even did a series on my Instagram called like Women in Hip Hop, where I looked at underground female rappers like Paula Perry. I did a bit on Lil' Kim. I did a tribute to Missy Elliott. I've done Lady of Rage, Moni Love. So I've been digging into that side of hip hop for me this year, because I have a lot of men that I look up to, but I realize like I don't look up to enough women, and that's important and an integral part of my identity. So that was something I was like really digging into this year, I'd say.
Well, I think that's completely and utterly dope. I don't think we have enough female DJs. I fell in love with the female DJs, knowing that I was going to be a DJ just from the jump. You know, the DJ Spinderellas and the like. You know, just let me get your quick idea on how, I don't know if you know about that DJ Spinderella situation, but they just did a Lifetime Salt and Pepper biopic and didn't include, and I know this is really more of a DJ question, but they didn't even include Spinderella. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, you know, obviously that's terrible, to be honest. I mean, she's an integral part of that movement that they built, and I think that speaks to the value we place on the different elements of hip hop today. I feel like, you know, we've seen the evolution of the DJ being the center to the rapper being the center, and then the DJ's role just falling away. And I think it reflects the way popular culture treats DJing. And I wonder,
right.
I wonder if that is because DJing has become so diluted that when people say I'm a DJ, it is lost maybe some of that seriousness and that true reflection of skill. And so maybe to people who, like the producers of that project, presumably don't know much about DJing, right? And maybe overlook that. But on a personal level, like Salt and Pepper should have, you know, presumably they have some kind of executive role on that. So I don't know. I think personally, I think that's bad. I think that's wrong, and they did her dirty. But I also don't know, you know.
Right.
My basic opinion, right? I think credit women, give women a platform, and if, especially Salt and Pepper, like it's a girl group, like how your whole ethos should be with women. We're dope. We're doper than you. We're pioneers. We're trailblazers. We're icons, and like let's uplift each other. But you know, even within like the female community, there is a bit of, I think the saying's like crabs in a bucket. It's like this need to kind of the concern that, you know, if you shine, I shine less brightly. But that's not true. Like there's enough light for everybody, and women can become quite catty. And, you know, I love women. I think women are great, but we, you know, we're flawed beings too. And so that's something that women need to work on, is working together and understanding that it's not, we can hunt in packs. You know, men hunt in packs, or like, you know, male animals hunt in packs. Like women can do that too. And it doesn't have to be like a feline situation. We can do these things together and hustle together and promote each other. And, you know, it's not gonna do you any harm to show love to your other peoples. So, you know, that's just my opinion. And obviously, yeah.
Well, too, if I could chime in as a person that experienced DJing for a rapper, because I used to DJ for Akinelli.
Shout out to Akinelli.
Yeah, big shout to Ak. The thing I've always appreciated about my experience with Akinelli is that whether it was on songs, him shouting me out, saying my name loud as fuck for people to hear, putting me in the videos, making sure that I had my 5-10 minutes of stage time during our shows. He understood the importance of my role in his whole situation as an artist. And it's not like I signed the record contract with him. You know, when he landed his record deal with Interscope Records, he's the one that signed on the dotted line, so to speak. But that said, he made sure that I got paid when I was supposed to, and he made sure that people knew I was his DJ, and he was proud of that. And I feel like, look, we're obviously speculating because we're not in the situation with regards to Spinderella and Salt and Pepper, but that is an interesting topic of discussion because, as Dilly said earlier, DJs are usually looked at like in a disposable way.
Right, bro, you took the words right out of my mouth.
I say that because I'm not sure if people know this. I'm sure some of your viewers go like as far back as the first Salt and Pepper album.
Yeah, come on, bro. That's exactly what I was talking about. Right.
Hot, Cool, Vicious. So they're Spinderella, the Spinderella that people know now wasn't the original Spinderella. They had another DJ named Spinderella. And then for whatever reason, she got, I don't know if it was kicked out or she left or what. My gut tells me she got kicked out or removed from the group. And then they replaced her with the Spinderella that people know as Spinderella now.
Exactly.
And the same thing happened again, right? So that tells me that what I have a feeling, and I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'm thinking that it was more of the same thing with regards to the rapper DJ relationship. And I say rapper on purpose. You know, MCs, the true lyricists of this art form understand the respect that DJs command and deserve. And I feel like what happens a lot of times is MCs turn into rappers and it's all about them and they're like the stars of the show. And then they're kind of like looking at everyone else involved in their musicality, whether it's the dancers or the DJ, as subordinate. And I think that was probably the case with Spinderella and Salt and Pepper. I think they saw her as work for hire and not necessarily a part of that collective, a part of that movement. And, you know, it's more of the same thing that, you know, DJs just experienced that, like, for whatever reason, we're just not taken as seriously as we should by rappers.
But what I think is like interesting there is like what you've done with what you did with the X-ECUTIONERS was you took that power back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say, you know, to an extent, DJs, you know, loosely using that term, DJs perpetuate not like that, not being taken seriously or being on the sidelines or being basically, you know, a stage prop.
Good point.
DJs, some DJs perpetuate that. They don't bring the skills. They bring some clout and that's it. So, you know, what's iconic, what's revolutionary, what's amazing about that? Honestly, nothing, right? Whereas what you did, you know, well, real DJs who care, that's a different thing. But that you know, what you did with the X-ECUTIONERS by creating your own DJ group and pushing DJing in its own way, you became the rappers. You know, you carved that space out for DJs, and people don't do that as much now. I don't know whether it's
which was amazing.
But like what they did was so clever and so just like genius, really, wasn't it?
All right. It was
Word.
completely amazing to not only infuse yourself in the safety of other DJs and demand the respect to your earlier point about DJ. You know, what's funny about the Spinderella stuff, which if you can find humor in it, you cry less. DJs have been putting up with that forever. You know, very rarely do you see an even kilt of where the DJ and the artist meet. DJ Premier is one of those examples of his refusal to ever allow the rapper to outshine him. There was equal footing from an organic and mutual place, and everyone respects that mutual. When you think of Gangstar, you think of the collective. You don't think of one person.
Right.
I think that was a corporate ideologue, you know, or philosophy to put pressure on the artist to view them as, you know, some sort of, you know, disability, if you will, when it comes to how much they're going to get paid. So a lot of people had to cut their staff or their friends or their people to get the money that they felt that they needed. But a lot of times it came at a cost. Because it's not just a salt and pepper thing. It's a culture thing. Like that's, you know, like you were just talking about, we all kind of grew up on their records. We know the history. It's like, you know, it's like somebody telling you a story and leaving your mom out of it. You know what I mean? Like you're disrespecting the culture when you do that. When you don't include the main elements of the story. You know, yeah, Herbie Lovebug was a main, you know, part of the story. But Spinderella was, you know, the one that we didn't, you know, forgot about on one of the most iconic records ever, that first Salt and Pepper record, you know, and then on the new Spinderella, because we grew up off that too. She was on all the MTV rap shows. She was on all the rap cities, you know, and to leave her out of that, you know, on the same network that provides you MTV and Viacom, I thought that was pretty much telling. They're the ones that had her on the TV, and Lifetime is a part of that conglomerate, and to leave her out, I just, wow.
Crazy.
What a crazy world we live in, right?
Word.
But
you keep moving.
My people, I am so honored that you came on tonight and spoke
right on, man.
About,
Thanks for having us.
About the art, about the love, and about the hope. Where can people find anything White Chocolate? And my man DJ Remington Steele asks, when are you guys coming to Orlando?
When COVID ends.
I heard that, my brother.
Yeah. Yo, people can find me at Brolic Arm on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a fan page, DJ Rob Swift.
And you can find me on Instagram at dilly.rowe, R-O-W-E. Mixcloud /Dilly Dilly. That's where we post like our white chocolate mixes and my own mixes. Facebook, dilly.world. My website, dilly.world. But yeah, Instagram and Mixcloud. If you care, go and check it out. And then we have our white chocolate Instagram, which is white chocolate, which you can find, I'm sure, through one of our pages. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. You've been
and where can they catch your show at?
YouTube. So through my Instagram, you can find my YouTube as well. But yeah, YouTube is DJ Dilly.
And make sure everyone out there, you guys visit the Brolic Army DJ School website. Wow. There's amazing tutorials on there. I touch on history and the techniques, and I feel like it's a great platform for you to learn how to become a true, authentic DJ. So
And
check
you
it out.
become connected with the dope community of,
Word.
you know, other people.
Well, I know I speak for Orlando when I say Orlando loves you. We can't wait till you guys come down and give some sort of showcase of what you guys been building throughout this quarantine moment in our lives. So we look forward to having you down there, man. And God bless y'all, man. And so honored that you came on. Give it up for Rob Swift, Dilly Rowe, White Chocolate. Give it up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bless.
The Sound of Orlando show. Let's go. Man, so honored to have people like them on the show, man. Speaking truth to power. Shout out to everybody on the check-in. My man Remington Steele, you already know. My man Ricky. My man Phillip, what's going on? Alfredo, we see you, man. Thanks for the support. What's going on? What's going on, people, man? So glad to have you guys on the show tonight, man. You know, this is what we do. We do it for the culture. And like he said, you know, he spoke about love. He spoke about unity and finding different ways to reinvent yourself throughout what could be considered one of the worst times in our lives. You know, it's not easy. We talk about it like it's easy, but it's not easy. Just find your way, find your path. Don't let nobody judge you, man. And just try the best way you can. That's all you got in this world. All right? Big up to my Orlando Massive, my Old Town Sound Massive. Big up to y'all. I love y'all. This is the Sound of Orlando show. You already know. Let's go.
Live on stage, the Sound
Of Orlando.
So, is they ready? The Sound